Okay, so in this we're going to deal with the half diminished 7th chord. It's kind of has a dominant function and a predominant function, as well as a cadence chord function. So, and I'm covering the dominant style chords. We covered the fully diminished chord in a previous episode, and now it's the half diminished, and only because this chord can be followed and used as a modulation device in many, many ways. But we're gonna first go through ways it can be resolved. In the next episode, we'll do the dominant chord. So the half diminished, it's a diminished chord with a flat 7, and in C it usually resolves to the 1. Now in C minor it's kind of rare. It would be and that would be built in melodic minor in case. That's kind of rare, the half diminished to minor 1. So that's kind of rare. Okay, we'll move on to the next bar. The half diminished can often go to the dominant chord of major or dominant chord of minor. Okay, that works out a little better. So for the minor, now between C and A minor, it's the 2 of A minor. Okay. Now a lot of people don't think of the 2 much in A minor, but it's actually the relative minor. So, but it's actually a very good chord to use. Let's go 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it goes to the 1 just fine. Now in C minor, or C major and A minor, and could go to the minor 5, which is kind of rare, but so in C major it could go to the 3 chord like that, and 1 4 7 3 6 2 5 1. That works out nice, but in A minor, the minor 5, that's a little bit rare from the half diminished to the minor 5, but it still can happen. Let me see. Next bar. Okay, now this is where we start getting to the possible pivots between C and relative minor. 2. See how it's a predominant chord in C major, or A minor, I'm sorry, the 2 5 1. Very common. Just like 2 5 1 in C major is common. Now as a borrowed chord, I might be going through this a little fast. The 2 to 1, that can be a cadence in and of itself. It has a cadence function. It sounds complete, and most people don't. That's really, really an underrated chord when it comes to cadence. So we could also go to the 5 of 1 in A major. So, yeah. So that's where it'd be a modulation device between relative minor and then to A major. Easier just think of it as a modulation device to a key down a minor 3rd. Okay, let's go to the relative minor. People usually get confused. So C major, the 2 5 1 and A minor, 2 5 and C major. So it could use a pivot chord between major and relative minor. You can use that half diminished too as a pivot chord. So, and that's exactly what I did. And then on the return to C, I use it as a predominant chord again to the C's dominant. So let's go from C major to A major. the half diminished A major, half diminished G, the dominant chord of C. So both the moves I've written up there in those staves I used to go from one key to the other. And you're not confined to major and minor. You could use Lydian to Lydian and use that chord as a bridge gap or cadence chord. So we'll go from C Lydian to A Lydian. B half diminished A Lydian. Okay? So you're not limited to major and minor. So let's do Mixolydian to Mixolydian. Any key, a minor third down from the root, the first key. So C Mixolydian. Half diminished A Mixolydian. So I'm using it as a cadence chord to A, because it's the borrowed chord from A, the borrowed 2 half diminished. So this move was used in the opening sequence, which I'm going to play right now. And I'll point out where. Right here. Cadence. Okay? And I'll play a pianoed version in a second. Okay, so just a B flat. Oops, I didn't play it exactly. Some A flat, B, F half diminished, E Lydian, so let's go for actually a simpler version. Just B flat, A flat, B, F half diminished, E flat. You hear how that works out nice? It sounds complete when you get to that E flat. That sounds complete. So it's kind of like a hidden cadence chord. So start thinking of that half diminished chord as a cadence chord to a chord a whole step down. You could do like literally chains of these half diminished 2 to 1, half diminished 2 to 1 continuous modulation, but we're not going to do that in this episode, but we're just showing that it's possible. So in summary, this half diminished chord can lead to many other chords as a cadence chord, as we've seen, as a predominant chord in 2 different keys, relative major to relative minor, or down a key, down a minor third, okay, as a borrowed half diminished 2. So if you continuously think of this half diminished chord as a possible borrowed half diminished 2 or a possible half diminished 7 chord, okay, think of it in both ways. Eventually we're going to get into chromatic harmony, but not in this series because it's just too vast of a topic, but this is one of the chords that's going to play a key role in that stuff. So good luck, and next we'll move on to the dominant chord and dominant types.